What's going on, geeks? Jeremy here with the Geekly Grind. Day one of MagicCon 2025, my first MagicCon. And man, there was a lot. Oh my gosh, there was a lot going on to take in, to update on, all that great stuff. Let's see. I guess the main kind of news thing that happened today was the preview panel. And there were a lot of really exciting announcements at that preview panel. So first, they were really giving us a lot of looks at Edge of Eternities. They debuted some gorgeous art for the basic lands. This setting really is about, you know, the description that was being used is like, imagine the magic universe as an orange, right? And so like the seeds of the orange, the center of the orange is like the various like planes and when the worlds that we're used to, and then, you know, there's sort of like the outer flesh of the orange, and then the Edge of Eternities is literally like the skin, like we're on the outer edges, right, of the known world of magic as we know it. And there is essentially a galaxy. There are distinct planets. Each of them will have its own mana identity. And then at the center of this is a star called Sothera. And this star was about to go supernova, and it was halted mid-nova and is now turned into this sort of like part void, part star entity. And so that's sort of like the broader setting for this world. And so the lands are very kind of like planet centric, which is really cool. There's no borders on lands. So there's these huge full art borderless lands, which look amazing. They're also bringing it back shocklands. So there will be adaptations of the shocklands for this set for Edge of Eternities. They are also bringing back they're rolling out the Mutavault. So it's a special kind of land that can generate colorless mana and also be turned into a creature. And it has a cool kind of alternative art style. And it was interesting because they were saying that the inspiration for the alt art was sort of the old propaganda posters and advertisements for like the freeway system. So when America was like building out the freeway system, it's like, hey, get in your car and go adventuring, and you know, and families could get in the family car and they could go driving for days and they could see new sights and check out cool diners and all that stuff. And so the way that alt art is designed, and I'll post it here, you can kind of see what, you know, maybe you'll see it. That was sort of the idea behind the design for that alternative art. So they showed off the Mutavault. They did some previews for some characters, like the engineer. I think it was Sammy, the engineer, that has some cool, some cool functionality to it. And then some landfall mechanics that are going to be in place. They revealed that Tezzeret is coming back. So they showed us a couple iterations of Tezzeret, including what they call the Triumphant Borderless extended art, I think. Looks awesome. The borderless, the triumphant version looks really, really cool. So that was really awesome. The headline card for Edge of Eternities is Sothera. And they showed off 3 distinct treatments for this card. There's sort of like the standard. There is a Japanese kind of art adaptation for it as well. And then there's what they call the Singularity foil. And this thing, the way that they made this thing is crazy. Like there's like metallic treatments on it, and it's got this extremely dark, like almost like a Vanta black in the center, to really give it that feeling of a star, it's about to turn into a black hole.
The light hits it, and also we hit that black hole in the middle with extra black ink, extra treatment, extra coatings, so that really when you're holding it, it feels like it's sucking the light.
And it was just really cool. Like when they showed off that treatment, like the audience was just like gasping. It was beautiful. So they showed off the headline card, talked about Shocklands coming back. They unveiled a new card type, which is Spacecraft. So essentially, it has a function similar to crew. It's called station, and you basically put the station counters on the spacecraft, and once it achieves enough counters to activate, it remains activated until it's removed from the field. So it's not like crew, because crew you have to, crew only lasts until the end of the turn for the artifact, right? Or for the vehicle. But for the spacecraft, it's stationed, and it just keeps up and running for a while. And so they showed off a legendary spacecraft to kind of introduce that. And they also announced that with the arrival of Edge of Eternities, there is going to be a new rule that will allow you to select legendary vehicles or spacecraft as your commander.
Just a couple.
Well, they'll be very interested to learn about what you're about to tell them.
Right. So both with legendary spacecraft that we're introducing here with Edge of Eternities, and for legendary vehicles, they are now eligible to be your commander when you're playing commander.
Pretty cool, right? Or maybe not. I know there are some mixed feelings and thoughts out there about it, but with Edge of Eternities, that will be an option, which is really cool. Let's see what else from Edge of Eternities. I think that was most of the major announcements for that set. So, they'll have the collector boosters, they'll have the play boosters, and, there'll be some changes, obviously, with stationing, with spacecraft, with legendary vehicles, etc. But that's Edge of Eternities. And honestly, the art looks super cool. They're really leaning into kind of that combination of both. You can sample both futuristic and retro, right, in a sci-fi setting. That's kind of the idea and what they were talking about in the panel. And so we definitely saw that in some of the samples that we saw. And so I'm excited for Edge of Eternities. Obviously, Final Fantasy has been a huge runaway success, and it's not because Edge of Eternities isn't going to be a great set. I think it's going to be a great set, but Final Fantasy has left some very large shoes to fill. And so regardless of that, I think there are some really cool mechanics coming, some amazing art, and I'm excited for the next set. They also announced for 2026, the first set in 2026 is going to be Lorwyn. So it's Lorwyn, I think Lorwyn Revisited. So it will be a new set in the Lorwyn universe. And then that'll be January 23rd. And then following that, we don't have a date for it yet, is Secrets of Strixhaven. So Strixhaven is coming back. So both Lorwyn and Strixhaven, two worlds and sets I think that players really enjoyed, are making a comeback in 2026, and I'm excited to see how that goes. The other major preview that got a lot of buzz and a lot of discourse, for good or for ill, is that they previewed Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. The art style on it looks amazing. They kind of showed like the work in progress art for the piece. But Aang has like fire bending, like as part of his like skill set on the main card. And so people are like, why is he fire bending right away? Like, that's kind of weird. And, there's lots of different theories. Like, it could be, this is the version of Aang that we're seeing, like when he's fighting, Lord Ozai. It could be any number of reasons as to why it has that. We don't even know what the bending does yet. This is one of those cases where reading the card does not explain the card because we don't know what bending is yet. However, there was a big reaction from the crowd when that was revealed, which was super exciting to see. And then they also announced Amsterdam MagicCon too. So in 2026, Amsterdam will be back on the roadmap for the MagicCon circuit, which is super exciting. So that was the preview panel. That was a lot of news, a lot of updates, mechanics, cool stuff coming out. And I actually will be have a chance to run a panel tomorrow, interview panel, with a number of folks that were on that preview panel today. So I'm hoping to be able to provide some follow-up questions and get some more clarifications and insights into the making of this set, which would be awesome. Other than that, the general vibe of the con, I've been to a lot of conventions, San Diego Comic-Con, WonderCon, PAX Circuit, Anime Expo, New York Comic-Con, and it was overall same kind of things you would encounter at a lot of big cons. There was definitely a lot of attendees, and I was hearing from vendors more, quite a bit, that they were not expecting the craziness that was today, at least. I think they were planning on a busy Saturday, but today was certifiably wild. And so definitely a lot of interest, a lot of attendees that are coming out because they're very excited about Final Fantasy. And so, there was just a lot of buzz around it. It was kind of frustrating at times, like going in, I had a premium badge and I wanted to go get my premium merch. They capped the line immediately. I'm like, okay, I'll go up to the show store and try to get like a shirt, and that line was capped. Go down to Square Enix booth, that line's capped. Ultra Pro, that line's capped. General convention stuff, I suppose, but there wasn't a lot to fall back on. Like, the Mana Stage had the preview panel in the afternoon, like the preview panel and the Making the Final Fantasy panel, but there wasn't really a lot beyond that to fall back on besides playing Magic, which of course people are there to do that. Like if they're there for, Pro Tour or whatever the case might be, or, they got some friends there and they just want to sit down at a free play table, awesome. But, the group that I was with, we were all just trying to check out the floor, check out the vendors, try and, pick up our merch and do all of the good stuff. And so I did feel like sometimes we kind of ended up without anything to do, or, it was just a lot more of that waiting in line than, maybe would have been usual. But all that to say, I felt, especially when I went to the second floor. So on the second floor is where all the artists are. And for those of you who have attended MagicCon, you're probably like, well, yeah, duh, Jeremy, you're, preaching the choir. But for those like myself that aren't familiar with MagicCon, it's very similar to Artist Alley, right? So they're all the artists from all the various Magic cards that are there. And I found myself kind of walking around being like, this feels like when I used to go to WonderCon, not really Comic-Con as much, but WonderCon mainly, and not realize who I was walking by. I had no idea, who this, they're like, oh, hey, Grant Morrison's here. He worked on Batman. I'm like, cool. And I had no idea. I had no idea who Grant Morrison was, and so I wasn't able really to connect. And so I found myself upstairs. I'm like, oh, okay. So these are artists for Magic. I should try and figure out who's who, right? What's the buzz? So that, I might have a card that I want to get signed, or, whatever the case might be. And so that was kind of fun to kind of walk around and get to, and have my sister was actually with me, and her boyfriend are more, more plugged into the scene. And so they're like, oh yeah, that's, Dan Frazier, for example, he did all the Mox, the original Mox pieces, which are very, popular, like Mana Rocks, a very, very popular line of cards at Magic. So, there's that guy. And then, kind of pointing out these different creators. And so honestly, it made me excited for the prospect of learning more about these artists and having more to look forward to, and potentially go and interview them, talk to them about the work they've done, what they're looking forward to in a new set, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, again, first time at MagicCon, first experience there, was a great one. Wrapped up the show. The show floor kind of closed at 7, but gameplay continues until midnight. It's not midnight, by the way. It's about right now. It's about 8:30. We weren't gonna burn the midnight oil, but so a lot of folks I think spent the day on the floor like we were, checking out the vendors, trying to buy stuff, and then in the evenings that's when they could kind of sit down with their friends and play some Magic and put in cards, update their commander decks, update their standard decks, whatever they were going to do. And overall, I think it's great. It's a great structure, and I had a great time. And the goodies that they gave out for the premium members was awesome. And yeah, so 2 thumbs up, really. I mean, had a great time, and I'm looking forward to Edge of Eternities. I'm looking forward to going back tomorrow. Got about a half day, just over a half day that I'll be able to spend at the show, and yeah, hopefully you'll be able to get a good interview in and learn a bit more about the artists and all of the good stuff. But just wanted to share my thoughts. Thanks for sticking around and hanging out with me as I kind of talked about my experience at MagicCon today. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I had a great time, and I'm looking forward to the interview tomorrow. And yeah, until next time, may your save points never be too far away. See you next time, geeks.